Okay, so today's video is going to be my after action report on my attendance with the Pennsylvania Lightfighter Challenge IV, put on by Lodestone Training and Consulting in Elizabethtown, Pennsylvania, also known as LTAC. This is my second event that I've attended with them. I do want to take some classes with them. It's just a thing of time and distance for me. But this is my second challenge with them. I was there last year. Last year's event, I failed the fire round because I let my matches get too wet. They only let us use 2 matches, and I had an issue. So I did not finish last year. This year I did better. But in a nutshell, you show up Friday afternoon if you so desire to camp out overnight. Hang out with the guys Friday evening. Most of the people that show up there are incredibly friendly. I was probably the rudest one out of all of them just by being quiet. It feels more like, even though it is a challenge, a competition, it feels more like you're just hanging out with your friends, you know what I'm saying? So all the people that show up, very nice people, very friendly. Didn't have any issue there. Most of the guys that did want to camp out for the night decided to sleep in tents. I personally took my tarp, laid it on the ground, laid my sleeping bag on top of it in my bivvy, rolled the tarp back over top of me, went to sleep. I woke up in the morning and my tarp was covered in frost. It was 30 degrees, nice chilly. For equipment, the minimum weight was 35 pounds on the rucksack. I had originally decided that I was going to take my belt kit along with my ruck, and I had that in the trunk, but I woke up the morning of and it just wasn't lining up for me. I was a little ticked off, so I took all the weight out of my belt, put it into my rucksack, and then I went with a TAPS panel instead, and this one has been dyed Ranger Green. Show myself, PaxtonCreekSupply.com. I went with this over the belt, and since I took most of the weight off my belt, put it into my ruck, and then I'm counting my chest rig weight along with that, my total weight came over to 59 pounds between the two. Why am I counting my chest rig with my ruck? The minimum weight was 35 pounds, and there was nothing rule saying that you had to wear any sort of LBE. Now, if you did wear something like a plate carrier, they counted the weight of your plates towards your minimum weight of 35 pounds. Some of the guys went bare minimum, 35 pounds with only the rucksack. Some guys went all out with full combat loads. I wore the weight, so I'm going to count it towards the total weight that I carried. 59 pounds was my final without water. I did add 2 quarts of water, which would be a pound or so a piece. And then they do not count perishables, you know, like your snacks and whatnot, but that's minimal weight. The ruck was the same one I used last year, Crossfire DG3. This is my favorite ruck that I have out of everything to date so far. The frame, the adjustability, awesome. I had the same rifle as last year, and you can see my contestant number was 30, so just standard 60-inch Picatinny rail, adjustable butt, and prism sight. The question came up at the beginning of the ruck from at least 3 guys asked me. I wore a Tiger Stripe fleece. This one is from Helicon, Texas. This is the Mark II Patriot fleece. 30 degrees. I was wearing a t-shirt and I was wearing jeans like I am now. I was shivering at the beginning of the ruck, which as soon as you start walking, your blood starts pumping, you heat up real fast anyways, and I wasn't going to stop to take off my jacket. I noticed at least 2 guys doing that. I completed the ruck with that jacket on and saved myself a little bit of time. But anywho, you started the ruck. They did not let us take our rifles for the first half because we were going to be in a residential area at the start for the first mile or so. Didn't want to freak out everybody, so we left our rifles at the shooting range under supervision, and then we were shuttled to the starting point. The first part of it was up and down through the neighborhoods. It was Macadam Road, you know, going down hill most of the way. There was a little bit of up, but most of it was down. I started off at the beginning of the pack, and the guy that ended up taking first place on the ruck is like 6'6", fucking gazelle legs. That dude took off like a fucking rocket. He was fucking on. But I started off at the beginning of the pack, you know, jogged a little bit at the beginning, and then I know later when I'm going 9-10 miles, I'm going to be slower at the end, so I try to be faster at the beginning so that it evens out my time. But you get down out of the residential area and you get to a rails to trail, which is, it used to be a railroad bed, they turned it into a bike path, so it's super flat, and you're on that for a good little ways. And so guys started passing me on that. And then we get off of that, and then we start going up and down the hills again. I started passing guys up there, so it evened out, right? You get back to the shooting range, you go up this steep ass driveway, pick up your rifle, go back down the driveway, get back on the road, and then go up, and then you turn onto logging roads, and it's up and down, up and down, up and down. And they save that for the end of the ruck because they know you're going to be gassed from running all, you know, trying to be fast, and all of a sudden you're going up and down, up and down. And like I said, with all my weight, I had approximately 60 pounds on me. Some guys were lighter, some guys were heavier, but for the timed portion, 9 miles, I maintained a 19.20 per mile average. You know, the first few I was a little bit faster, last few I was a little slower, but it averaged out 19 minutes and 20 seconds per mile. The gazelle like guy, he came in at first place, fucking 12 minutes per mile. Like he was freaking fast. But 19 minutes and 20 seconds was my time. You get back to the starting area, basically, at the shooting range, and you can, as soon as you're off the clock, you can relax for a little bit, change your shirt because you're sweaty. At that point, I did take off my jacket, throw it in the car, and then I put on a clean t-shirt because I was soaked with sweat at that point. And then I drank some water or Gatorade and ate something, and then you continue the last mile. Because the entire challenge is 10 miles. It's just the last mile is the stages, and it's at your own pace. So they give you this time around, they gave you this little map, and you start down at the shooting benches, and you can pick to go through these stages in whichever way you want to go. You have 3 shooting stages, and then you have a number of other ones, which I'll go down through. So I get to the first one, there was a line there. I decided I was going to come back to that and save it for later because I just wanted to get my stuff done and out of the way. So I went to stage number 2. Now stage number 2 was at 50 yards, 4 accuracy, 5-minute limit. You got 10 rounds. You shoot 5 standing, then 5 kneeling. And I remember the guy said in my ear, it's for accuracy, you got 5 minutes. And for some reason, whenever I pulled up my gun, I just started going bam, bam, bam. And then I knelt and bam, bam, bam. So I rushed it, and that was entirely my stupidity because he said for accuracy, and he said you got 5 minutes. No reason for me to rush it. This is my own fault. The targets used were NRA standard black bullseye targets, and they counted everything within the 10 ring as hits. Anything outside of that was misses. And unfortunately, due to me going a little faster than what I should, I had 6 lining around in the 9 ring. Everything was within the 9 ring, but because it wasn't in the 10 ring, I had 6 misses. So got that in my head. Go to the next stage. This one's going to be 20 rounds. They have 3 targets set up. 2 of them are no shoot, 1 is a shoot, and they set them up at a 45-degree angle. So you had no shoot, shoot, and no shoot, and then they had 2 cones spaced out about 10 yards, and you had to move side to side. You shoot 10 as you go one side, you shoot 10 as you come back the other side. Excuse me, I'm on baby duty right now. Alright, we're back. I just had to readjust them. So you move from one side to the other side. You gotta shoot 10 rounds, you gotta shoot 10 rounds as you come back. And because your targets are at 45-degree angles, you have to work around that no-shoot target. But you also gotta keep in mind that second no-shoot target, depending on where you are on your walk back and forth, you're going to be in line with them. If you shoot the target without thinking of it, and that bullet goes through and hits that no shoot behind you, you get -5 points for every hit. So on the shoot target itself, it was a silhouette, but only the rounds within this rectangle here, and then the lower lungs parts. So you had this shape basically like this that were considered hits. Anything else would be misses. Went through on the first go, no problem. Came back. Out of the 20, I had one round that hit here, which was technically outside of the lines, and that counted as a miss. And then when I got to the last cone, my foot hit the cone, and I had one round still in the magazine because I lost count, and I still had one that I hadn't fired yet, so I was not allowed to fire that. That counted as 2 misses on that. I did not hit the no-shoot targets. We were fine. And then I get my stuff, and I continue to the next round. Now, you're doing all this with your gear on still. You're still doing it with your ruck. You can drop your ruck at each stage, but you're still carrying it with you whenever you're moving stage to stage. So I start moving down to stage number 4, and that was going to be the axe throw, but I get to the top of the hill and I see a long line. I'm like, I'm not waiting for this. So I go up the hill to number 7, which number 7 was a crossbow. So this one was more just for fun. Simple recurve crossbow. You have 3 rounds or 3 bolts to shoot at a target that's approximately that big by that big. And it's not that far of a distance, really. It's a for fun thing. You hit all 3 bullseyes, you're good, right? Did that no problem because it was super close distance. I had one of those crossbows growing up. Very simple. It's just a for fun stage. But then you go to number 8, and number 8 was not timed. So they give you, Micah, I believe was the guy running that. He hands you, I forget, like 10 pages of just pictures of these random knots and then the name of the knot. So you had bowline, you had Swiss seat, you had, lark's head or what have you. And you could look at those pictures and then you would pick 4. You would hand those back to him. You weren't allowed to look at them again. And then you had to tie them in front of him. So I tie knots all the time. I picked bowline, clove hitch, sheep bend, and prusik. Bam, 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 done. And that was a pass or don't pass stage. The crossbow and that one were pass or don't pass. It was not like you got X amount of points. It was just you did it or you didn't do it. So I knocked those out real quick. Like I said to one of the guys, I've been married for almost 5 years now. I think I know how to tie a knot. Go on to the next stage, which was 5. That was the commando crawl. So a commando rope bridge, let's say you stretch across a gorge or something. It's a piece of rope about that big around, stretched tight, and you're supposed to lay on top of the rope and pull yourself across. It's a rope bridge, right? When you get to that stage, there was a huge dip right before there. You had to go into that dip with all your gear on and get out of the dip. And it's just, the sides are like that freaking steep. You gotta get in the bottom, get out. So I look at Tyler was running that stage, and I talked to him a bit last year, but I get up there and I'm like, I just have to be in the dip, and he's like, yeah, you have to be in the bottom of the dip and get back out. So it was on a slope going down the hill. Instead of trying to go down this freaking almost 90-degree side, I just walked down to the bottom of the hill, walked right up in the ditch, and then climbed back out. So if you're not cheating, you're not trying, right? And it is what it is, and he let it go. So you get to the rope, and I looked at it, and I don't like being on top of the rope because number 1, I roll every fucking time anyways. And then number 2, normally you're fucking sliding up top, you get your nuts smashed, it hurts, it's painful. You're allowed as many tries to get onto the rope as you need, but once you get past the green marker, if you fall, you're done. There is no second chance. So I went up to the green marker, I grabbed it like this, I swung both my feet up, and I just pulled myself real quick, which short distance, that's not a problem. If you're going longer distance, you're going to get tired, so you need arm strength. So, do what you think you need to do, get done with that. But I got across the rope, no problem. And it wasn't far, it was like 25 feet or something like that. But you crawl across that, and that, obviously I passed, so I got, a pass on that versus a no pass. That left me with 2 stages. I went to the fire stage next, which was number 6. And when I pulled up there, I had felt it last year, so I was going to kind of be a smart ass this year. I pulled up and I said to the guy, doesn't matter how I make a fire. He's like, no, you just have to use nothing other than the matches you have. You can use your own matches, but when you run out, you're out. And you have to use, they give you a 1x3 piece of stick. I don't know, about this long or so. and you process it down and make your kindling. So I'm like, so I can use this however I want to, you know, and all I have to do is burn the rope. He's like, yeah. I took my match, let it burn the rope right in front of him. He's like, oh no, you can't do that. You know, he made me restart. So I apologize for being a smart ass on it. And he restarted my time. And what I did, I took my 1x3, I broke it into, with my knife, I broke it into 4 pieces. I took 3 of those pieces and broke them in half. And the way that they do the fire is you have a hole about that deep, and then you have a piece of string across the top, and you have to make a flame big enough that the flame burns the rope in half. Okay, I took my 3 pieces, broke them to make 6, and I laid them across the top of the hole to make myself a platform, and I had about that much space between my platform and the string. And I take my last stick and I shaved it, made a little pile of kindling, lit it. As soon as that flame jumped up, it's pine shavings, right? So it burns just like that. It burnt, and it burnt the string, and I did that in 5 minutes and 38 seconds total. The best time on the fire stage was 3 minutes and 30 seconds. Somebody got it super fast, but I did it in 5 minutes and 38 seconds, and the vast majority of that time was breaking down the wood and lining it, getting it ready. That leaves me with the final stage, that leaves me with axe throwing. Go to the axe throwing. Martin is the guy that's running it, and Martin is a retired Marine, now truck driver guy, and he forges Viking axes or tomahawks and war hammers. And I had thrown one of these at the competition last year. I took 2nd place on that after the challenge, and I had thrown one of these there, and I was like, I gotta get one of these. So I saved up and I bought this off of him back in the summertime, and that is just a beautiful freaking thrower. This thing is awesome. But I took this with me this time around, and you get to the stage and he sets you up with there's a pile of driftwood, you know, about that big around, and there is a duffel bag that weighs 80 pounds. So scenario, you got a deer, you're breaking down the pelvis, and then you're going to pick it up, throw it over your shoulder. You're going to run down to this marker that he had on the ground. You're going to run back and throw the 80 pounds into the truck, and then you're going to run over to the starting line, and you're going to throw your hatchet or your tomahawk and at the axe target. If you hit the target, it knocks 5 seconds off of your time. If you miss, you can just run up and, you know, whack it in there. The time stops when you get a stick, whether you go up and hit it in or if you throw it. It's just if you throw it, you get 5 seconds knocked off for effort, right? So I grabbed a stick off the pile, you know, it was that big around or something. I take my hatchet or my hand axe, and boom, one throw, and it snapped the stick right in half. Like, I was like, I'm just going to take it. So grab the 80 pounds, throw it over your shoulder. You can drag it if you need to. I threw it right over my shoulder. You got to retain your hatchet, and then you run down to marker, you run back up, you throw it into a truck. I went to the line, I threw it, I got a stick. It knocked 5 seconds off my time. So my time came in on that at 29 seconds with the deduction. The best time was 24 seconds out of everybody. And then I had that one final stage that I had skipped in the beginning, the shooting stage, which was number 1. So you get up there, you got 30 rounds, and you start across the road, and you run across the road, you flop down, and you low crawl to the first barricade. That was approximately 60 yards, I think. The second barricade was 50, and then the final one was the car, which was 40. Again, you're shooting a target, and it's not rushed, so you can take your time on it. But he had a silhouette target with the triangles and squares, and they were different colors, and you just pick one. So I went with the left shoulder. It was a triangle. You shoot 10 rounds at the first barricade, drop your mag, give it back to him so your gun's empty, right? And then you low crawl to the second barricade, you shoot 10 rounds again, and then you low crawl to the car, and then you can lay on top of the car however you want or work around it. You shoot your last 10 rounds. So you shoot 30 rounds total. And on the shoot 30, I got a 3.3 as far as the pointing system goes. So Lodestone's point system, I gotta look again at how they actually calculate the points, but I got a 3.3 off of that, which I believe was 10 misses, give or take one, out of 30, but I have to double check that. The best on it was a 0-0, so somebody got every single hit, but I got a 3.3 on that. And yeah, all that combined, the point systems and whatnot, my total score came out to 24 points out of everybody there. So what did that mean? Well, the best guy ended up getting 18.50 was his score at the end of it. I came in at 24, which put me right at second place, and I ended up winning this tomahawk that is inscribed with Lightfighter IV 2024, made by Martin, and Mossy Forge is the name of his company. So now I have two of these, the one that I just won and the one that I bought last year, and that is just, he knows what he's doing with this stuff. These things are razor sharp when they come from him. The fucking craftsmanship on it. It is lighter than my previous one. Obviously, it's a smaller head, but the freaking fit of the wood. You can also see that the cheeks are a little bit thicker on my Viking one versus this one. But I have thrown this one already. Martin does not make these for show. He makes them for use. And I said to him when he handed it to me, I'm definitely going to throw it at least once. And he's like, you better. So this thing flows nicely. I do prefer my heavier one just because I like the Viking style. But this one's going to go up on my wall and get used every so often. So that was my winning prize. And then also I got my tab. So the top 10 guys get a little patch scroll that says Pennsylvania Lightfighter on it. Everybody else that finished all stages, they get a American Lightfighter certificate. But only the top 10 guys get the Pennsylvania Lightfighter patch, which is freaking awesome. That was my entire goal going back this year, was I wanted my freaking patch. I was not expecting to come in at second place, but you know what? I'll take it. I'm more happy with myself that I chose to put the extra weight on, because, you know, I'm trying to be a light fighter, not a light hiker. Not bashing anybody that went there. Everybody there was freaking awesome. Lodestone Training and Consulting seems to be a decent group of guys. Former SF guys, Marines, fucking Army guys, a whole slew of people running teaching classes with them, volunteering, helping with everything. But yeah, Lightfighter 4 2024. I'll do my best to be there next year. And you guys have any questions or comments on it, go ahead, drop them below. I'll try to answer them best I can. You can check out more information about them on their website, which I'll put a link down in the description for it, and as well as a link to the final results as published on their sites, so you guys can check that out if you want. So either way, you guys have a nice day.